Welcome to the Strategic Veteran, where we chart the course from service to civilian triumph. I'm Adam Peters, a veteran, entrepreneur, and your fellow navigator in the quest for a life of impact and fulfillment. My mission is simple: to empower you with the tools and stories that turn challenge into opportunity. Having walked the path from active duty to where I stand now, I understand the search for purpose that comes with hanging up the uniform. It's a path I've walked, with its trials, its tribulations, and its victories, and it's a journey we're on together. This podcast is more than just conversation. It's a beacon for those seeking to redefine our missions through entrepreneurship. It's about igniting the entrepreneurial spirit that lives within us, the spirit that compels us to create, lead, and make our mark on the world. Here we connect with veterans who have built businesses, sparked change, and found their purpose in the marketplace of ideas. They're not just surviving, they're thriving. They've transformed their service into startups, their experiences into enterprises, and they're proof that you can too. So whether you're scribbling business plans on napkins or stepping into the arena of innovation, remember, you're not alone. You're in good company. So let's explore these stories of transformation and take the first steps together on our path to purpose. Let's begin. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Strategic Veteran. I'm your host, Adam Peters, and today we have a truly inspiring guest joining us. Dylan Dail served 20 years in the United States Marine Corps, achieving the rank of Gunnery Sergeant. His journey is a powerful testament to resilience, commitment, and the relentless pursuit of excellence. Dylan's story begins with a challenging childhood, growing up with a single mom in and out of prison and being raised by his grandmother. Despite these early adversities, he enlisted in the Marine Corps during his junior year of high school. Shout out, because I did the same thing in the Army. He embarked on a journey that would take him worldwide through multiple combat deployments in Iraq and Afghanistan. Throughout his service, Dylan faced significant personal and professional challenges, including the birth of his premature daughter with multiple disabilities and the mental toll of back-to-back unaccompanied tours. However, these experiences only strengthened his resilience and compassion. After transitioning from military service, Dylan found a new path in real estate investment, significantly influenced by his participation in the Skill Bridge program. Today, he's committed to growing his business, Bridgecrest Capital Management, and aims to acquire and improve apartment and mobile home units, contributing to better communities. Dylan's core values of honesty, dependability, and commitment have guided him through his military career and civilian endeavors. His story is one of transformation, dedication, and the relentless pursuit of goals. Join us as we delve into the remarkable journey of Dylan, a true strategic veteran dedicated to making a positive impact in his post-military career. Dylan, brother, thank you so much for being here on a Saturday afternoon and giving up some time to chat with me, man. I really appreciate it. I'm so grateful.
Dude, the honor and privilege is mine to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, man. Let's just dive right in and then tell your story, brother. Start early life, childhood, where you grew up, and what influenced you to join the Marine Corps. I know it's a banger of a story.
So I grew up in Midwest City, Oklahoma. I would say we were on the cusp of lower middle class and poverty. Like, some of my life we were on food stamps. Sometimes we weren't. As you mentioned, my mom had me when she was 19, and I think the first childhood memory that I have was I was asleep in the front seat and she had got pulled over, and she violated her parole and went back to prison because of that. So I was probably 4.
Damn, bro.
Yeah. So my grandmother was the most consistent person in my life for sure. And she was working minimum wage and close to minimum wage jobs and literally drawing Social Security because, she was already at that age. And really did her best to provide for me and care for me. But I was very independent early on. Like, at 10 years old, I was out running the streets and doing things that I thought was normal.
Right.
Until I got a little bit more exposure worldwide, and I'm like, wow, what my childhood was not normal. So kind of fast forward through some girlfriends and stuff. So like elementary school, I did great in school. I had a second grade teacher that probably really changed my trajectory. So shout out Miss Stevens, uh, first teacher that I had, I think that really cared, kind of set me on a good trajectory. Then I got to junior high school and more distractions. You have the individual period, so you have different teachers and stuff. So they didn't build the rapport. They don't know what's happening at home. They don't know what you're going through. You're just another student. So kind of started backsliding academically once I got to that point. The only thing that kept me passing school was I wanted to play sports. So
Boom. Same.
yeah,
Same.
uh,
Yep. It's a common thing, man. It's so common. I talk to so many people and get their story, and it's the same story. Like, I just kept my grades up so I could play sports. Hindsight's 2020. Had I applied myself, I could have done so much better. I realized that later in life, right? Like, that's my story. I'm sure that's definitely your story, right? Like, it's a lot of our stories. So it's not surprising to me that was the case. I knew it was coming before you even said it.
yeah. So middle school, I wrestled. Wrestling is probably also a super, super foundational part to my work ethic, resiliency, all that stuff. So at 14, 15, um, cutting the weight, being in the weight room, just going at it with your peers, like as hard as you can for minute 30, 2 minutes. Like the first year that I wrestled, I wanted to quit. And my so this is a crazy story. I feel like we would be remiss not to tell it. My stepdad at the time, um, so my mom was out of prison and doing pretty well while I was in middle school. But she met him when she was in prison. He worked at the prison.
Fuck. God, no.
So he
And
ended
I'm
up getting.
sorry, man. I don't mean that to be rude, but like, that just, to me, just hearing that's just a situation that's never going to work out, right? Like, that just doesn't. I
And
don't
it
know,
didn't.
and maybe, yeah. I'm not. I'm sorry, man. That was rude of me, but like,
No,
also,
no, no,
like,
no, no.
just kind of common sense tells me that like something's wrong with this picture here.
100%, right? It's like the E6 trying to date the E2, right? It's
Yeah, come the fuck on, dude. Like, get the fuck out of here.
so my mom got out of prison. They got engaged. She moved in with him immediately. Eventually, the prison found out and he got fired, right? For uh, you know,
Fraternization, right? We'll
yeah.
just call it what it is. Yeah.
But my mom had a job in the kitchen, and he was like basically the chef at the prison. So, uh, but he's the one at that point in my life that kind of pushed me towards wrestling, and yeah, so thankful for that. But it
A
was
little positive out of the
yeah,
situation. I mean, that's
yeah,
good, right? I enjoy that you're talking about wrestling. I was a wrestler my entire childhood. I was a really, really good freestyle wrestler. I didn't fare so well when I got to high school because I didn't grow at the same rate that everybody did. And unfortunately, I was stuck in 152, 160, 171, and 189, which to me were the hardest weight classes in high school, just because that's where all the
those dudes are
cock
strong.
diesel, yeah, the cock diesel motherfuckers are at, and I hadn't hit my spurt yet, right? Like, hindsight's 2020, because now I'm 6'3", 215 pounds. Like, bring it on, let's go.
Yeah, that's so eighth grade, I think I wrestled. I started the year at like 145, um, and I realized like I just wasn't as strong as those guys, and all those dudes were cutting. And midpoint through that season, like you kind of get your weight under control just from practice. And I was floating in between 125 and 135. And I was like, I'm just going to wrestle 135. I don't want to make the cut to do 125. 125 in junior high is like probably the most uh, participants at tournaments and stuff are
For
125. So
sure. Oh
biggest
yeah.
brackets, right? So yeah, I wrestled 135, eighth grade and ninth grade. And dude, craziest weight cut story was like, so our coach made us come in the mornings and weigh in the day of duels before school. So I'm at morning weigh-ins for our homecoming match, and a dude that I was beating out for 135 made the cut to go to 125 because he couldn't beat me. And he doesn't show up to morning weigh-ins. The coach is like, Dale, can you make 125? He's like trying to move the roster around to fill out the weights and stuff. And I'm like, if you get me out of school all day, I can. So I'm in the weight room all day at school.
Trash bagged,
Trash
sweated up.
bags.
Yeah.
Yeah. We
Did you do the icy hot trick too with the saran wrap? Did you ever try that?
I didn't do icy hot, but we did have the like Abilene or whatever,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
petroleum. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So I'm like rolled up in the mats, got the heater pegged at 90. So I make the cut. I had to cut like 6 or 7 pounds, I think, to make it. Um, so I make the cut. Dual weigh-ins show up. Derek shows up, and coach is like, "Oh, I'm going to put Derek at 25. I already filled your spot at 35. You're going to wrestle 45." And you can only,
What?
yeah, dude, what a dick. Uh,
No, dude, you just cut all this weight. You're exhausted, and now you're going up 20 pounds.
yeah, and we had this rule where you could only be like one weight down. So now I had to chug all this water, and I waited in like full warm ups to hit 35. Uh, might have had some change in my pockets. We might have been cheating some things a little bit too.
Stuffing your face full of food
Yeah,
real quick,
yeah,
going on the
yeah.
scale with food in your cheeks. Yeah.
And our homecoming match, the school could get out fourth period for like $1 to come watch. And kismet of the story is like my cousin was like the only girl wrestler in the state at the time, I think, and she was wrestling 25. So Derek ends up getting his ass kicked by a girl in front of the entire school. And they schedule your homecoming match with a school that's usually not very good. So the 45 kid that I'm wrestling is kind of fat. He's wearing tennis shoes, doesn't even have wrestling shoes. Like that's the environment stuff that we come from. And my wrestling coach from the year before is reffing. So I flipped the kid into a headlock, and I put his arm like over his face, and I'm like pinning that over his mouth and nose so he can't breathe. And his back's really wide, so I can't get him flat. I'm running towards the head, and my coach is down there, or the ref, my old coach is down there, and he's like, Dale, you got to let him breathe. You got to let him breathe. So I lift his wrist up real quick. He takes a big gasp of air, and I slam it back down.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
And he lays flat, and I get the pinfall. I didn't stay for the rest of the duel. I was so pissed at my coach for doing that. I was, the headache you get from being dehydrated, all that. So, but that was a, really good, fun time when I look back on it. It wasn't fun at the time, but
Yeah. So how did you end up in the Marine Corps? Was it just was it coming from a place of not really destitute but pretty poor, and a bad upbringing, your mom in and out of prison, the weird scenario with your stepdad who did push you into wrestling, so there was a positive with that, and I'm sure with how you grew up, wrestling kind of became that escape from that situation for you. Did you see the Marine Corps as something similar to what wrestling could give you, or was it just a simple, I want out, I want to change my environment? Like how did that happen?
So I think a couple dominoes more got to fall to really line me up for that. I didn't really even consider the military probably till my junior year. I was still playing baseball in high school, cross country, because my baseball coach wanted us to do an off season sport. And like I said, I was manipulating my grades to stay eligible. I think I have like 16 semesters that I failed in individual classes. I graduated high school with a 2.5 GPA. And the counselor like laid out what credits you needed. And I was like, I front loaded all my science and math like my sophomore year. I was like, I'm going to do this like not credit more than I need, and I mathed all that out. But my junior year, I was working a job at a grocery store. And the very first time that I didn't ID somebody for a 6-pack of beer was a police sting operation. Yeah. So I ended up getting a citation for selling alcohol to, I don't even think she was a minor, dude. I mean, maybe she was working for the police to try to lessen something that she had done, but she looked old. She was in
Fucking
pajama
snitches
pants.
get stitches.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so I think that situation kind of really lined me up. Uh, my buddy told me, he was like, "Oh, if you go talk to the Army recruiter and stuff, they'll buy you lunch and all that stuff." So I went and talked to the Army recruiter and sat down and got a fat lunch, and I was like, "Oh, I guess I'm going to try that with the other recruiters too." So I hit up the Marine recruiter, and I'm like, "So like, when are we going to lunch?" He's like, I'm not taking you to lunch." And I'm like, all right. And they have all these little benefit tags and stuff. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Marine Corps, but travel, adventure. I don't even remember what benefit tags I picked and stuff. Oh, I mean, honestly, like where I'm at in life, I was like, all these seem pretty good. He's like, well, you got to pick 3. So I don't know. I was probably like travel, adventure, and like sense of belonging or something was probably what I picked. And he's like, all right, so like, you ready to do this or what? And I was like, let me sleep on it. And he was like, well, I mean, if you're a bitch, just say that, basically. And I was like, I'll be back tomorrow. So I was 17. I had to get my mom to sign. My dad's not in the picture. We had to do a whole affidavit saying that don't know where he's at to get his signature and all this stuff. And the rest history whenever it
Yeah,
comes to
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah. 17, going to the Marine Corps. So, what was it about the Marine Corps? Was it just the attitude that he had when he's like,
Yeah.
are you a bitch or something?" Or
Yeah, basically, like at that,
yeah,
if you Marty McFly, call me chicken type of
yeah,
thing. Like I
yep,
was in back then. Yeah, certainly my mindset. I was up to do the hard things or the things that other people wouldn't do uh, for attention or for ego or whatever at that point in my life.
for sure, man. And what was your job in the Marine Corps?
So I enlisted originally for an infantry spot. Um,
Smart man.
my recruiter had somebody drop out of the pool, so he was supposed to ship, and he was basically UA, like dodging his calls, not answering the door. So my recruiter calls me up, um, and this is kind of a douchebag story on me. And it was like, "Hey, you want to ship a week earlier? I'll get you the GI Bill kicker bonus, and all the stuff." I was in JROTC, so I was already a contract E2, and I was barely enjoying the little bit of summer that I was going to get before I got to go to boot camp. So I was hesitant about it.
Yeah,
But he talked me into it. Anyways, then I get down to MEPS again, and the liaison's like, "Hey, what job do you want?" And I'm like, "No, dude, I already got a job." And he's like, "Well, that's if you go next week, but you're going this week." And I'm like, "Motherfucker, you got me." um, so I disclosed some things that I hadn't disclosed to my recruiter and got disqualified. He got me, so I got him back, right? So
yeah,
now I end up shipping a week later uh, than I was supposed to. And same thing happens. I get in there with the liaison. He's like, "Well, I have military police and command and control electrician option." And I was like, "Military police?" He's like, "Sorry, son, you're not going to be 19 by the time you graduate MOS school, and that's a requirement." And I was like, "Well, what the fuck you asking me for?" Like,
right. You're not giving me a choice, so just tell me what I'm fucking doing here.
I guess he was hoping that I picked command and control electrician option so that it sounded like I had a choice. But yeah, that's how I ended up getting that job. And under that code, I ended up getting utilities. I was an electrical equipment repair specialist, which is just a fancy way of saying I worked on generators.
You're a generator mechanic. Cool. Got it. Those are important. Those are really important when you're deployed. I know I wish we had more.
But in the Marine Corps, it's lumped together with 4 MOSs. So technically, there's 6 MOSs under the field. You got your chief warrant officer, the OIC, the utilities chief. That's only for the gunnies and above. Electricians, refrigeration mechanics, and water purification. So I ended up learning all of those things.
Of course you did, because you made it to gunny. So I would expect a senior leader in the Marine Corps would know all of those things. That's awesome, man. So go ahead.
Well, because the Marine Corps is like, when I joined, I think it was only 170,000 total strength. When you get in those shops, you have no choice but to cross train. So it's like, I'm the generator mechanic, but 90% of my time I was doing like the electrician type stuff, because they're like the operators of the equipment in the field. So when you go set everything up, like you're doing that like 90% of the time. And then when something breaks, you're also the asshole that has to fix it. So
of course. What year did you go in?
2004.
Okay, so I was in the end of 2003 is when I went in, and I had no idea the Marine Corps was that small. I did talk to the Marine recruiters, and honestly, the reason I didn't go to the Marine Corps is because they couldn't guarantee me an infantry spot, like what happened to you. That was the biggest deterrent for me, was like, yeah, I can sign you up for this, but depending on when you ship, you will get there, like your story, talk to the liaison, and either we got a job for you or we don't. And I'm like, I'm not getting stuck doing something I'm going to hate.
Yeah, so that infantry spot that I got was only because it was a year prior, because I enlisted my junior summer, and that's how far out, if you want it like a guaranteed code, like which even still, like they can't guarantee you rifleman, they can't guarantee you a machine gunner. You could be a rifleman, a mortarman, a machine gunner,
Right.
a tow gunner, like whatever's under that umbrella code.
Yeah, the army is a little different. They were shocked. Like, if you want infantry, you're getting infantry, period. Like, it doesn't matter, because I had all the scores to qualify for anything I wanted to do, and they just looked at me like I was dumb. I was like, no, I want to be an airborne ranger. I don't care about all the rest of this shit. Hindsight might be 2020, because there's a lot of jobs I could have done that would have made my life a lot easier when I got out, that would have translated well to a nice lucrative career where basically I don't have to go through the transition and really fuck around figuring out what I wanted to do. But I don't regret a single minute of it. So let's talk about, so you get in the Marine Corps, you get through basic training, your first duty station is Okinawa, and you indicated that you had a pretty rough start to your time in the Marine Corps. You said it was pretty challenging. So let's talk about that experience and how that shaped you.
So first thing happens when you're a new join, entry level, and you get to Okinawa, is they give you the Joint Reception Center like week-long brief. So you get there and nobody owns you. Like, you don't get to your parent unit. Like, those people aren't invested. You're just in another like pipeline under temporary management. And the bolded underlined message from the entire JRC week is don't underage drink. Right. So I'm scared straight. I'm not going to underage drink.
Uh-huh.
Then you check in on field day, your first actual day at your unit. They drop you off in the middle of field day. And, 2004 in Okinawa, we were still doing like, take everything out of your barracks room, put it on the catwalk. Like, sergeants are coming through, and I don't like the word hazing because I think it gets overused, but it's very much toeing the line on like what their level of responsibility was. And
it's a rite of passage as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, like right, wrong, or indifferent, it is what it is. It's that way for a reason. It builds character. It introduces you to what your life is very much going to be like on a daily basis in the military. I don't care what your MOS is. If we refer to it as hazing, I generally believe those people are just kind of soft. Sometimes it goes too far, for sure. Not afraid to admit that. I don't think I ever took it too far, and I'm willing to admit that I participated in it as I became an older guy with some experience. Like, it's just part of it, and if that's enough of a deterrent for you, the military is not the place for you.
100% agree. Yeah. But anyways, first field day, I'm sitting there and I'm like, what the fuck did I do? um, so and then we failed field day inspection because the XO walked the barracks and found like some spray paint cans or something in the gear locker, and it wasn't in the hazmat plate. Like, so it was like a bogus thing for why we failed field day. So now we're doing it again on Friday and getting inspected Saturday morning in our service uniforms, and all the fuck games that
Yep.
come with
Bend over. Here
early.
it comes again. Yep. Yep. Let's have some mandatory fun.
And then they had a rule, I think it was a week or first 2 weeks, like you couldn't take off base liberty. So you're just trapped in the bricks. All your friends are going out that you have met so far.
And you're an adult. Like, you have made it through basic training. You're at your first unit, and they really treat you like this. That's insane. And we'll talk about it in a little bit. But I had to do a deployment where the Marines were in charge of us as an Army unit, and they took over a cop that we had, and dude, they treated us like absolute dog shit. They locked us out of the chow hall, put an armed guard on the water cooler, and wouldn't let us get into cold water. Like, I was like, this is seriously how you guys do business?
Yeah, it's crazy sometimes.
Insane to me.
Yeah, and I'm like sitting there, I'm like, I can't have a fucking toaster oven. And then like a few weeks into my time there, somebody burnt popcorn in the microwave so hard that the smoke detectors went out. Now we're outside in formation, waiting on the fire department stuff. And you're like, this is why we can't have nice things. We do it to ourselves.
Yeah, man.
And then it's your perspective. It's crazy as you like get promoted and you get more responsibility. It's crazy how your perspective on all these things change. You get a little buy-in and the chaos and the method behind the madness. Like,
for sure. Well, you mentioned the one thing that the Army and the Marine Corps have in common is no toaster ovens in the barracks. And I didn't understand it either. I was like, this is like, are you fucking serious? Like, it's a toaster oven. And then you see how dumb some of these privates that come in are. And you're like, I totally understand why we can't have toaster ovens in the barracks, because the next thing you know, the whole fucking building's on fire.
well, I'm sure you experience this at some point as an NCO too. It's like you get these other grown men and you have to teach them how to wash their ass and how to clean their, like,
Legit.
basic hygiene.
Like, yes. Brush your teeth.
Like,
just brush your teeth.
When's the last time you washed your uniform? And they're like, oh no, like a month ago. And you're like, dude. So like I had times where I had the hygiene logbook. Like, I had my nasty kids. They all had last name W's. I don't, for whatever reason. And they were all water dogs, which their MOS was basic hygiene equipment operators. Like, their job in the field was to run the field laundry units and the showers. And I'm like, and you don't
and these
wash
are the
your
people
ass.
who can't keep themselves clean. No shit, dude. Isn't it ironic how that works out?
It's crazy. So I had like deck NCOs with the hygiene logbook. I'm like, every time they brush their teeth, they're going to log it in. Every time they shower, they're going to log it in. Every time they wash their clothes, they're going to log it in. And I'd go look at the logbook and be like, dude, you haven't brushed your teeth in 3 days. No. Brush your teeth, like toothbrush, toothpaste. Do it now. And it's insane.
I hope that at least some of those people made it off of that list at some point. Like, at least, like, hopefully it helped them establish the habit and the routine, and they could get off the list. Because I know you had kids that just lived on that list and never got off.
Yeah.
And this is so much fun because I've had nobody actually display this side of the military before, like how some adults or grown men and women actually act and take care of them. It's mind blowing when you see this stuff in real life and you have to deal with it as a leader.
Well, the military, I try to tell people it's just a sample size of the United States, right? And then probably on the lower income spectrum, like, military recruiting targets the disenfranchised, and the underprivileged, or, it's a good way out. It's a good way up.
It really is. It really is.
So yeah, you probably get a few more bottom feeders in the entry level pipeline for sure. And some of those guys and gals really benefit and grow and learn from it. And, you know, what do they say? Some of them stay back on the block and want to keep doing the same old things and revert back to their.
They truly do weed them. They weed themselves out, right? Like they're bound to that initial contract. But I can remember a time where I personally went and put in paperwork to bar people from being able to reenlist because they're just a detriment to the Army or to your unit or to the mission. And it's like, look, dude, you haven't figured it out in 5 years. You're not ever going to figure this out. I'm not going to let you stay here.
Dude, and thank you for doing that, because I see what happens whenever people push and slide those people through, and it just ends up being welfare.
Not just that, but they somehow magically end up in positions that they should never be in, and then it really becomes like this scenario, particularly for our careers. Let's just, I mean, because we basically have this, I mean, we're GWAT babies, right? So I'm sure like you, like me, your time in the Corps was spent basically every other year going on some kind of deployment. You guys do shorter deployments than we do. So, I'm sure you've got your fair share of deployments through GWAT and all that. We spent 20 years at war. That's your entire career, right? It was my entire career. And those people falling through the cracks because somebody doesn't want to step up and really make a decision that's not an easy decision to make, right? Because you're influencing someone else's trajectory in life. Like the Army could have been the best thing that ever happened to, some of those people that I barred from reenlisting, but also like they would end up in positions where someone else's life is in their hands, right? And I couldn't allow that to happen. I saw enough shitty leadership in my time young that I knew that I couldn't allow that to happen. And I'm sure that's probably your approach as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a crazy thing, balancing the needs of the institution against the needs of the people. Like, but I can't care more about you than you care about you. And that's like my number one, like, leadership principle is like, I'm going to do the things that I'm required to do because I'm bound by leadership to do, but I'm not going to invest additional time or efforts into people that aren't going to do the work.
For sure. For sure. Let's talk about, you're in the Marine Corps, you're doing, you're climbing the ranks. It's time to kind of go on some deployments and do some unaccompanied tours, but your daughter is born and she's premature and, got some, I don't know personally. I'm about to find out, just like everybody else listening. So, you said multiple disabilities. So if you're willing, I'd love to hear that and kind of how you dealt with that, how that shaped your experience going on unaccompanied tours. Deployments, I assume, is what you're talking about. I think of unaccompanied tours as back in the day when all infantry dudes had to do a year on a hardship tour in Korea. So that's unaccompanied to me, but deployments also, that makes sense. So let's move into that and how that shaped you and your career.
So my wife was a Marine when my daughter was born. Also, at the time, we were dual active duty.
A house full of crayon eaters. I love it.
Yeah. So, and she was a basic hygiene equipment operator.
At least she put. There you go. Yeah.
So I was sleeping. She didn't wake me up. She was having, painful contractions and stuff. So she calls the Naval Hospital, and they're like, "Oh, that's just Braxton Hicks contractions. Should take some Tylenol and a warm bath or whatever." So then she starts bleeding. So that's when she wakes me up. Take her to the hospital. They try to give her some drugs to stop her from going into labor. And like an hour later, emergency C-section, and my daughter's born 1 pound 10 ounces.
Holy shit! Like super premature.
Yeah.
God
so
damn.
My wife was 26 and a half weeks pregnant. Like, my daughter's eyes were still shut. Like, I forget what it's called, cilia or something. She still has all this fuzz on the outside of her body. Her skin's a little bit like see-through almost. Like, doesn't have the pigment.
Yeah, and they're pushing all the fluids to make her lungs work and all. I imagine it's like full on, like.
Yeah, so she's like in a little intubator under a billy light. almost 3 months in the hospital, fed through a tube, um, yeah, intubated, moved to CPAP, moved to nasal cannula. Um, so my command was really good. Uh, they wrote me some PTAD, and I spent about probably like a month or 45 days just in the hospital with my wife and my daughter.
That was your
So
place of duty. Yeah,
yeah,
that's nice.
and they were going to keep rolling that forward, but I was signed up for sergeant's course, and that's a PME promotion requirement. And talked over with my wife. I said, "Hey, I don't want to miss the seat. I don't want to, slow things down, like as far as my career progression and stuff." So decided to go attend the NCO school. So I'd be coming from the school and doing my work right back to the hospital, sleep in the hospital, like leave extra early to go to the house, shave my face, and right back to work for
Was that an easy conversation to have with your wife, just based on the fact that she was a Marine and understood kind of what the career progression looked like, knew that you were kind of a career guy? I'm sure you guys had discussed that. So was she like pretty on board and supportive through that? And
yeah, I mean, at that point, my wife was going to be a career Marine too. Yeah, we were all in. It was the best way we were going to be able to provide for our family and make the life that we wanted to make. So, um, yeah, I mean, I won't say it was an easy conversation, but it was a understood and agreed upon.
for sure. And the only reason I ask that is because, like if I had to have that conversation with, one of my wife at the time when I was going on deployments, it would have never gone that way. In fact, one of my marriages ended in, if you go to Afghanistan, I won't be here when you get back, as if I had a choice. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's just kind of important to understand that, like, yeah, this is a trying time for you and your wife, but also you can come to some kind of arrangement where life goes on, man. Life goes on. And you have to keep pursuing those things that are going to make your family better and your life for your newborn daughter, right? Who's fighting for her life at this point better. And so I just think it's important to touch on that a little bit. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, I guess at the time, like probably the way the conversation went down, the best of my recollection is like, "Hey, babe, you're going to be able to be here, with the baby. Um, all the care that she's actually getting is coming from medical professionals. They're here regardless, and I'll be here whenever I can be. Um, they're like, there's not a lot that I can do besides console and comfort you by being here. As much as I enjoyed being there, and I'm super glad that I got to be there the time that I was. But yeah, that was kind of the conversation."
Hell yeah, man. Let's talk about retirement and moving into that and the transition. It's tough, right? Like it's a I don't know. I made it to 12 and a half, almost 13 years. You did 20 years. I can see that there's a big difference in that 6 or 7 years there, right? But also, like, it's a huge wake up call, isn't it? It's like, holy shit, everything that I knew is completely different, right? We talked about this a little bit before we started recording, but on this show, I refer to it as the transition hole. So let's talk about your transition and how far down that hole you fell.
Okay. So the first thing, shout out to Legion vets, uh, and shout out to my command for letting me attend a skill bridge. Because without that, the fall would have been much further. I got to test the waters a little bit and do all that while still collecting active duty benefits. So um, yeah, and I was so ready to get out. You know, I've been counting down retirement for like 5 or 6 years,
You
which is
you thought
crazy.
you were ready to get out.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
thought you were ready to get out, and then it comes.
and I was, and I'm still glad that I did.
Of
Uh,
course.
but what you don't realize is when you've been doing something for so long, and you're so good at it, and like you know exactly what to expect and what to come. Like you have all that figured out. So in that way, life isn't stressful because I know exactly what I'm doing. I got my battle rhythm down. Like it's you're on automation. Get up, PT, hold formation, do accountability, like all the basic things that you're doing at work. Once I started doing the skill bridge, even though I was still getting paid and stuff, it's like my routine started going out the window. I'm like, I can get up whenever I want, sleeping in, and it's like, all right, for a little bit, that's nice. Like get some sleep that you haven't had in 20 years. But
20 years. Yeah.
then you start becoming sloth and lazy, and
The
you know.
weight starts getting put on, and
So luckily, I've only put on like 7 pounds
good for
in
you,
the
brother.
past 7 or 8 months, but my body composition has changed. It hasn't been an even trade. It hasn't been an
there
even
it
trade. So,
is. Yeah.
so
You
I'm,
stopped doing PT, didn't you?
yeah,
Yeah. It's the first thing that goes. It's sleeping in and PT go hand in hand. If you're sleeping in, guaranteed you're not doing PT.
yeah, that's 100%. It's like, as much as I hate it, it's like, I need to get it done in the morning because I'm like, oh, I have the whole day. It's my own time. I'll get to it when I get to it.
No, you won't, because I'm still that way to this day. I spent a long time gaining I gained over 100 pounds when I got out. I've lost that in the last year, but I used to say the same thing. Like, I'm not going to do PT in the morning. I hate doing morning PT or workout or train or whatever you refer to it as, PT, and quickly you make all kinds of excuses throughout the day to just never do it. And then before you know it, you're 50 pounds heavier and your body hurts. And you say, I'll get to it tomorrow. I'll start tomorrow. And then 8 years goes by and you're 311 pounds. And you're like, what happened to me?
Yeah, I I guess I should start with this disclaimer: is the Marine Corps thought I was fat for the past 5, 6 years. Like I was dodging our body composition program. I had to tape out. So my max weight that I'm allowed to be in the Marines was 180 pounds, and I've been 200 pounds for
The
the
better
last
part of
three,
20 years. Yeah.
the last 3 or 4 years of my career, and I've been over my max for 13 years total of my career. And I used to go to the sauna, dehydrate, cheat the weight. Like I did 27 pounds in like 2 days in the sauna before to make weight, and I'm probably literally on death's door because I don't want to go on BCP or um, and that was still a relatively fit me. Like I'm still doing well on PT tests, and I'm not falling out of runs or nothing like that. But yeah, so this week I started the workout routine again, and it's like you have this memory. You think that you can do the things that you used to do.
No, sir. You
No,
cannot. I
no.
assure you.
So I started with the weights super super light. Like I'm like I just need to build the routine in and the consistency of showing up to do the thing.
Yeah. Did you deal with any kind of substance abuse problems or suicidal thoughts and ideations as you were getting out?
Um, so my main substance abuse times is probably that Okinawa time, and that's like
Okay.
I was telling you the
The underlying highlight is don't underage
don't
drink.
yeah. And then the first week that I got to pull Liberty, my buddy's like, let's go out to the bar. I'm like, nah, dude, I don't trust myself to do that. I was like, I don't want to get in trouble for underage drinking. They're like, dude, everybody's doing it, and I'm like, full on, like
Let's go.
I
Here
was
we
drinking
go.
like 5, 6 nights a week. Like going to bed at 2 o'clock in the morning, and getting up at 4:30 for PT. Like, if I didn't puke during PT, I puked while we were doing our like PTR, like our recovery time, like showering and changing over. Like once your body starts cooling down, you're just fucked up. Like,
And I
and
want people to know that's common. That's very commonplace in the military in general. It's like from the day you get there, that's what you do. You go drinking with the fellas or your team or your unit or whatever it is. You're drinking from day one. And I think that's why I asked about substance abuse when you're transitioning, because particularly like in the infantry, that really is what you do with all your free time. You go out, you're drinking, you're fighting, you're drinking, fighting, and fucking really is what you're doing. Like, I'm sorry, that's like very blunt, but that's like really what my life through all of my 20s was. And it for me was like, that's what I fell back to when I started to transition. I was like, well, I'm just going to keep drinking because that's familiar and I know that I'm good at that,
well, I think the military is very primal. Uh, like conflict with man is very much in human DNA, right? There's been conflict as long as there's been man, and an organization that's dedicated to that. Uh, I think you fall back on those primal things, and the alcohol maybe not so much a primal thing, but I think it's a numbing or a coping or
it's escape. It's
it's a
escape.
distraction. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep, for sure.
And I can't tell you, like those first 2 years of my career, you'd be so hungover at work, so miserable, still doing hard things like hikes and like ridiculous things that you shouldn't be able to do while you're still intoxicated or dehydrated and hungover. And I'd be like, oh, dude, I'm never drinking again. And then like 16:30 would roll over, I'd go home, shower, and like 17:30, I'd be in a cab to the bar. Like, so yeah, I didn't experience that. Like, I don't know, at some point a few years ago, me and alcohol just don't get along like at that level. Like I'll do social beers and stuff, but if I drink enough to get any type of level of intoxicated, I feel like shit for like 2 or 3 days. I'm depressed and in my head for 2 or 3 days. And it derails me so hard that I can't do it to myself anymore.
Same here. I 100% agree with that. Even socially drinking now, it's like I have one or two beers and I'm ready to go to bed. It just makes me sleepy. Like I don't want to do this anymore. Like, and I have no problem just going and hanging out with you at a bar and I'll drink water with lemon. Like that's way cooler to me than drinking the beer anymore. So, you said SkillBridge was a turning point for you, and so SkillBridge is really the reason I even have a platform. Thomas McKenzie is an amazing man, and I'd love to get him on this show, even though he refuses to come on the show because he says he's not an entrepreneur and he's not the one that I want. But he's the one that gave me the opportunity to just present on a Tuesday to you guys, really not knowing what the fuck I was going to talk about. And because of that, I was able to identify all the struggles that transitioning veterans go through, and understanding that largely SkillBridge, what you guys are getting presented with is really just headhunters trying to recruit you for their companies. They primarily don't really give a shit about you, and I found out that a lot of them had never even been presented with entrepreneurship as like a path that they could pursue after they get out. So can you talk about I know you can talk about what SkillBridge is more than I can, because I didn't have an opportunity. I got out in 2015. The Army still called it ACAP. Write a resume, use your GI Bill, get a career. Good luck. Bye. That was my transition out. And I think SkillBridge probably has its problems, but I think that it is an incredible opportunity that I wish I would have had. So can you tell us about SkillBridge and why that was such a turning point for you?
Yeah, so SkillBridge can be very broad, but I kind of think the way that Allegiant Vets does it is what the military hopes that the transition readiness seminar, ACAP, taps and tamp, like the mandatory training that you get to help you with your transition. I think what they think it is what SkillBridge is. Um, like I think 30 days, 60 days minimum every veteran should get. And I know that logistically and financially and recruiting and mission wise, like that's not a realistic possibility right now. But
I think
I
that's
hope.
bullshit. I think it's absolutely a possibility. The
Well,
defense budget is so big that they could make the change if they really wanted to, and they could step up recruiting efforts and build it into their plan for sure. I 100% know that.
that's what I'm getting at. Is I hope that they do move to make uh, that leap, because I think it's important. The problem with SkillBridge as a program as a whole is so the program that I did was for training. They have some other ones that are more towards job placement, and those are more like internships. So you're going to work and getting free work from companies. Unfortunately, there's bad actors out there that recruit veterans to these SkillBridge programs with hopes and promises of employment, and some of them have zero intentions of hiring. They're just getting the free labor on the DoD's dime. Um, and in that way, I don't know if those veterans are getting to experience the things and getting access and resources that they need to really like embrace their transition. Because Allegiant Vets was training based. I was basically doing college classes online. Some of the other tracks that they do. So I did project management. Some of the other tracks that they do, all the training is just on Coursera. And then, as you know, how we met, as you mentioned before, the Tuesday meetings. So that's kind of the accountability piece, and that's a requirement for a SkillBridge program to have like a touch point, I guess, with all their participants. And Allegiant really did a great job of making that valuable by bringing different opportunities and presenters and information from your VA claims and benefits to, you know, different entrepreneurs, schools, and really just bring in lots of resources and information, like more information than you could handle sometimes. But like, you know, you get something that this resonates to you, you write it down, you follow up on it, and that's probably the best thing.
Well, and that's a key. You just said something that's really key right there. Is you, I don't think that there's really a good way to to present all of the resources that exist to veterans to help with transition in a palatable way because there's just so many of them. And so what I'm hearing you say is that you said you write it down and then you follow up on it if it interests you. And I think that's kind of the first real like lesson that transitioning military members need to understand is like the Army or the Marine Corps, the Navy, the Coast Guard, whatever you're in is not going to teach you how to, you know, take stock of something and then follow up on it if you're interested in it. And so it seems like that's what you learned how to do through SkillBridge. It's like, okay, I see the value in all this shit that's being thrown at me. I cannot soak up all of it. It's just impossible because it's being thrown at me at such an incredible rate. So let me take notes on this and let me get some kind of contact info so that I can now take care of myself and go follow up on it, because I don't have a platoon sergeant or a first sergeant or squad leader or a lieutenant telling me that I have to follow up on it. So if you got nothing else out of SkillBridge other than just learning the power of a follow up, I think that's amazing.
Yeah, it's everything, to be honest. Like, um, during my whole transition time, my mind's changed 100 times. Uh, the only thing that stayed consistent, so it's like another good resource that Allegiant Vets brought, was like a lot of good resume information, a lot of good LinkedIn tips, ATS, like how to do that, how to do federal resumes. I knew that any job that was going to require me to do a resume based on the current skills that I had, I wasn't interested in doing. I didn't want to do anything that I'd done in the military or any of those relatable things. Even though I did the project management training track, the more training I got on that, I was like, this sounds like managing an operation in the military, and I don't want the headache. Like, the compensation, in my opinion, and in my life position right now, it's not worth my time for the stress and the trade-off. But for lots of other people, that was their lane that they wanted, and that was the things that SkillBridge was able to do for them.
Well, I think it's awesome because SkillBridge, as far as I know, when I did my research on Allegiant Vents before I presented, they have like 12 tracks. They're separated into kind of your more like digital space to your more like corporate type space, right? So they got like UI, UX design, they've got sales, Salesforce, they've got project management. I imagine most military people don't even have a fucking clue what project management actually is, because I really still don't know. I have a Six Sigma green belt class all week next week just to get it, just to have it because it's free. And it's like, that's project management. That's teaching you like behind the scenes how to manage a business kind of deal and other projects. So I think that's a really good benefit of SkillBridge. And even though it didn't resonate with you, did it influence your decision to become an entrepreneur? What sparked that for you? Or did you know that already while you're going through it and just kind of capitalized on the opportunity to be in SkillBridge and get an idea of skills you would need to build your own business?
All of the above.
Perfect. I love it. I love it.
One of the guest speakers that came was Sam Sells with Syndication Launch. And I signed up for his coaching program, doing the real estate syndications, and worked that concurrently for 4 months of my SkillBridge while I was still meeting my other requirements that I actually had in the SkillBridge. So I was able to literally start transition into my entrepreneurial pursuits while still getting a full-time paycheck and benefits. So that
that gives me so much hope, because after doing that presentation and talking with so many of you guys and inspiring so many of you guys, that's what I have long-term plans for the Strategic Veteran to be, as a SkillBridge program that teaches, or at least informs you on how to set up some kind of entrepreneurial journey, right? From teaching you how to form an LLC, to buying a website, to setting up an email list, to, you know, the basics of social media marketing and building a personal brand. Like, if you give me 6 months while they're getting an active duty paycheck, I promise you, if I can't get them to making money, not enough to replace what they're losing, but at least show them that it's possible to make money on their own with their own set of skills, with managing their own time. Like, how valuable could that be to our community?
Super. Like, you've come across enough people and had enough conversations, and you've lived it already, that you know. Probably the number one thing that's stopping people from pursuing their own business and growing their own thing is the fear, uncertainty, and doubt.
It's themselves. Yes, they need to get the fuck out of their own way. And that's quick. I'm going to make t-shirts that say "get out of your own way," because that's really what stands in the way of you from everything that you want in life. Literally everything that you want in life is yourself.
I mean, there's very few 9-to-5 jobs working for somebody else's company or some corporation that's going to make you rich. If you want to grow real wealth, you have to provide value. And if you think about capitalism, the way that it works out, and you could think it's fair or unfair or whatever, a worker is never going to be able to get their actual value in compensation, because the company has to make the bottom line. So that means that you're going to get underpaid for the work and contributions that you do for the company, so that they can, you know.
All about the profit margins, my friend.
That's the system. You don't have to like it, but if you don't want to work inside that sphere, then you got to do your own thing.
Yeah. So how did you get into real estate investing? Was it through that coaching program that was presented to you at SkillBridge? And what was it about it that really resonated with you? Because I've had my fair share of opportunities to get into the real estate investing kind of space. And it just definitely an element of me being in my own way, because I'm scared of it, because it's very capital intensive. It's a lot of risk, a lot more risk than what I have currently put on myself at this point, but maybe also it just doesn't resonate with me in a way where I understand it enough to really dive in head first. So what was it for you that really just kind of opened your eyes to what's possible with real estate investing?
Well, it might open your eyes and change your perspective on it. So
Absolutely,
my
dude. And
so
I
so
love doing this because it's an opportunity for me to change my perspective. As you know, I asked you before the show if you and Tony Bosey, who has been on this show, his episode's coming out in a couple of weeks. We had this very same conversation, and it's cool to get hooked up with guys like you because hopefully you guys can change my mind and just open my mind to more avenues to create more wealth for myself.
absolutely. So like I said, my mind's changed a million times. Originally, when I was getting out, I was just going to do single family, basically buy a rental property, build some equity in it, refinance, cash out, use that for the next down payment. But like you said, that's very capital intensive
The
to
Burr
not
method. Yep.
to not pay PMI, mortgage insurance, which adds cost to your mortgage, which limits how much money you can make. Pending that you could actually rent it out for more than the mortgage, especially at these interest rates. It's a very slow method. There's a book out there that I read before says that you could do 10 homes in 10 years. Uh, I guess maybe if the circumstances are right, maybe that's possible.
Not at 7% interest rates. It's not. Sorry. I'm just sorry. Like maybe if we were still in the 2 or 3%, yeah, absolutely go for it. But 7%, that's a big difference in a mortgage payment.
So yeah, but that was my plan. Um, and then once Sam and Jesse sells, syndication launch, and Wild Mountain Capital, shout out to those guys because they're doing it. They have like 60 million plus worth of assets under management right now. They've been doing it like 6 or 7 years. Both veterans also.
Fucking A, run rate at 10 million a year. Good for them, man.
Yeah, so they're doing the thing, and their mindset on things is like the best trade-offs to make money is through other people's time or other people's money, right? So basically what a syndication is we find limited partners or passive investors, and they're going to trade off their money, right? So they're the other people's money for my time. So we're going to manage the project, the properties, and get them cash flowing. And like the deal that I'm working right now is potentially a 60 lot mobile home park. So now you're talking about rents on 60 units versus one multifamily, right? In one go, and not really bringing your own capital or as much of your own capital into, like, instead of doing a $70,000 house in Texas somewhere, you're working a $2 million mobile home park, and you build that up. So that park exists right now, but it's dilapidated. It's run down. A lot of the mobile homes need to get replaced. So that's what we're raising the capital for, is to rehab and replace those parks, get those filled with tenants, uh, collect rents. Then once you can show the net operating income is increased, now you can sell at a profit. You can roll that capital in and go do it again with a bigger project or multiple projects of the same size. So
Well, and that
that's what
stuff
got
is
me.
so beautiful in so many ways because, one from a business standpoint, if I remember correctly from talking with Tony, and you guys are in the same space, so I don't have, trouble comparing what you guys do because you're doing the same thing. This isn't a long-term hold. I think it's like 5 to 7 years, right? Before you're cashing out and getting your money back and making profit, right? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah. So the deal that I'm working is we're kind of hoping to do a 2 to 3 year. whole.
Even better, right? So I know it was a shorter time horizon than doing one house every year for 10 years and maybe breaking even or starting to cash flow. So, and then I think the other element that I really, really am on board with is it's not just about making incredible amounts of money. It's about beautifying and making better communities for people.
Dude, so it's such an amazing opportunity for this mobile home park, because that you can't think of more affordable housing than a mobile home. I grew up living in multiple different mobile homes across my childhood. And when you look at the price points, uh, a comparative 2-bedroom house to rent to a mobile home, like it's going to be more affordable.
Yeah, apples and oranges right there, right?
Yeah. But the greatest opportunity that, once you start working the details out and doing the planning and all that stuff, now I'm getting excited. We found a whole bunch of these mobile home park dealers. So I'll back up. The original plan, we were finding used mobile homes that were in better shape than the ones on the park, uh, to replace, right? So it's like going to be a new to you mobile home. We happen to find out that these new mobile home park dealers have offered to bring a new home out onto the lot and sell it. So at no cost to us. So like that's an opportunity for us to cut out a whole bunch of the operations and the logistics of this and still get this park. Now this park's going to be elevated to a new mobile home park. All the housing's going to be new and fresh instead of it being still uh, somewhat dated or used.
So let me understand this correctly. So you found a company that is offering to bring out a brand new mobile home and put it on an empty lot on one of the properties that you have and sell it. So that immediately starts kind of beautifying the neighborhood and the park, right? And then I assume that there'll be some kind of element of others who are still in the park who may have not as renovated mobile home to put a little bit of money into their home and maybe make it a little bit better, or look at options to get maybe a brand new one in there for themselves. So is it my understanding that correctly?
Yeah. So I think there's only about 9 homes that are currently going to stay out of the 60, out of the 60 potential. So in theory, uh, up to 53 of those or 51 of those homes in the park could be brand new. Yeah. Um,
That's really cool. Now, when you're buying these parks or looking to do these to, different parks, what is the process for approaching people who are tenants of the park and already do have property in the park, and how do you present that to them, and are they on board, or is there, some hard selling that has to go on to get them on board? Like, what does that look like for you?
so here's the ugly side, and this is one of the things that kind of turns investors away from wanting to look at these opportunities. There's probably more homes on that park right now where they're basically squatting, like they haven't been paying their leases and stuff. So all of those people, we're going to have to either go through and negotiate for back rents or do the eviction process. And then probably a lot of people don't realize this. A mobile home is not real property, so it's not real estate. You get a title, you get a title to it like a car. So if they get evicted off their lease on the lot, it's going to be their responsibility to move the park. Or if they owe significant back rents, like it gives the property owner um, an asset to come under for compensation for the back rents.
So they get to take the trailer essentially. Got it. And so that's the dirty side of the business, huh? Because that can't make you feel good as a person, but also like, hey man, no free rides here, dude. Like everybody pays their way in life, and you are not doing that, and we can't stand for that anymore.
That's how you usually find these parks that are like that. They're usually like mom and pop operated. So it's like, you know, Joe off the street. He's lives in the community. He's built rapport with these people. He feels bad for them, and unfortunately, like, it's illegal to give different tenants in one area different treatment. Like, you got to uphold to the leasing agreements and
The rules are the rules, man. It is, it is what it is. The rules are the rules and everybody has to play by them.
so, and obviously the eviction and the coming after their assets, like, that's a last ditch effort. We really want to make every effort to work something out with them that's agreeable to both parties. Like, it costs money to do the eviction thing. It's ugly. It's
A lot of name calling involved. You're a piece of shit. You're a corporate bastard. I fucking hate you. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I get it, man. I mean, business, it's business, dude. That's what it is. Right. And I personally think that what you guys are doing is an amazing thing. And, I think it's a much needed thing, right? Because I live here in Central Florida. I know Tony's right up the road in St. Augustine. I'm not sure where you're at, but, I can drive around and there's a giant mobile home park here in Melbourne, and it's just a giant eyesore right now because nobody's kept up with anything. I know that they're dealing with, I mean, I see the no soliciting, no trespassing, no squatting signs outside of the park. I think they're having the same issues, and I'm sure it's that way across the country. And, that drives property values down for people like me who are homeowners that are near that stuff. And, commercial real estate property values get driven down. It's just a really bad thing for everybody involved.
Yeah, it is, and that's one of the reasons why, like, our business model for the parks is to have tenant-owned homes. We want them to own their home. Now they own a piece of the community. They're more invested in the community. They're going to take care of it because the home is theirs, right? And then it gives us the opportunity through management and those practices to make it a safer and nicer place to live. And if you have kids and stuff, like, you want that. You don't want the dude that's not paying his rent because what's going on over there? Like, why can't he pay his rent?
Yeah, for sure, man. So, do you have any achievements or projects that you're working on right now that you're particularly proud of?
Dude, this is the long game. So yeah, this is my first deal. I haven't made any money yet. I have about $10,000 of my own capital wrapped up in the deal. I have uh, another couple thousand into operating costs, emails, domains, and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm just trusting the process. Like, everybody probably wants to quit early in their journey, or you're going to get resistance. You're going to get resistance.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so this is really good because you're about 12K invested of your own money. Contrary to popular belief, any of the YouTube gurus out there, whether it's digital, physical, brick and mortar businesses, you can't do anything for free. A domain automatically disqualifies free because to buy a website, it's going to cost you like $7 a year to manage that. And then, oh, by the way, you're going to have to spend another $20 to get hosting because a domain doesn't do shit without hosting. So that's a little free business lesson for you. There's no such thing as building a business for free. So how do you, I guess, with so much of your own money, you haven't made any money, this is your first deal, how do you keep yourself just, in the optimist mindset and just knowing that you can trust yourself to do this? Like, what keeps you going in this and keeps you, like, really, because you haven't done a deal and you don't know for sure that this is going to work. I know you're working with some incredible people. You've seen deals get done. They're giving you all of this information. Like, I did this deal and I did this deal and I did this deal. It sounds to me like it's a really good coaching program and that they set expectations early. They're not selling you on, you can make all this money and you can do it tomorrow, right? Like, it's a grind. So how do you stay optimistic and how do you trust yourself and not give up on that?
I'm going to flip it back onto you because we've all seen this guy, especially in the military. There's a dude that's less qualified, less competent than you, that has achieved a higher status or rank or position. Why? The dude's too dumb to quit.
Because he just keeps showing up. He
He's
just
too dumb
keeps
to quit.
showing up,
Yeah,
dude. Yes.
yeah,
Yes, man. You
yeah.
just show
So
the fuck up every day. Incremental progress. And
you're gonna
showing
stay the
up
course.
counts as progress. Yeah, man. That's, dude, amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. So looking forward, what are some of the goals or aspirations you have for your company in the next couple of years?
So I just want to do 3 or 4 deals a year. That's the goal. So obtain 3 or 4 properties. Right now, I'm working as a co-GP with these people that are very, experienced, and I'm doing this more right now for learning than the money. The money that I'm going to make on this deal is probably not going to be life changing in any way. Uh, I'm luckily in a point in my life. My wife's a professional and working, and with retirement and VA disability incomes coming in, like I'm financially secure. Um, so yeah, I'm mostly like, I would say the next 6 to 12 months is just in optimization and learning. I want to learn everything inside and out that I can, and then 18 to 24 months, I want to be the main sponsor on one of these deals and really start raking in the big money and having the responsibility and impact for that.
I love your philosophy on this, man. You're invested, give or take 10, 15K into yourself. And this deal, you have already conceded it's a learning experience. And there is no better way to learn what it is that you want to do than to invest in yourself and fucking do it. You are going to learn so much by doing the reps on this deal that, yeah, it's not life-changing money. I hope that you in a situation you might only just break even, but the experience and the knowledge that you're going to get out of this that's the ROI itself, right? That is invaluable, because as you do the reps and you learn the ins and outs of this business on this first deal, that second deal will be easier. That third deal will be even easier. And then before you know it, you're at like, fuck, I only wanted 3 or 4 deals a month, and now I'm at 5 or 6 deals a month. It's like, holy shit, how did I get here? Oh, I invested in myself. I stayed the course, and I put my head down and grinded it out.
Yeah. And that's like, there's guys in this space, and this is going to sound crazy to people. People don't think that this type of money is obtainable. There's people doing the same thing that I'm doing right now that are making $1 million a month in passive income. After they do the deal, they get it signed off. Everything else is like outsourced as far as management. Like, they have a team.
Is that gross or net? I mean, so net, they're still making stupid money a month, hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's insane. And, I'm glad you talk about that, because a lot of people think that is crazy, right? Like, I'm launching my paid community on August 1st. Your episode's not going to even come out till the first of the year ish, sometime in January, because I'm that far ahead. But, I hope by that time I have 300 or 400 members in the community at $30 a month. That's stupid money a month. Like, and that's on the low end, right? Like, you're only talking, at 1,000 members in my community at $30 a month, that's $30,000 a month. It's not hard to get 1,000 members in a paid community, especially
When I look back on my life and my experience, coming from food stamps to, like, I mean, my E7 paycheck in California with BH and everything was making 120, like 117,000, I think, net a year. In my mind, before I started like branching out, like I was so focused inward, right? Like on the military, just doing the things that I've been doing. I'm like, this has leapfrogged me. It's made me successful. I'm like, I'm making a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money.
no, because
And
if you
if
do
you
the math on that, $120,000 a year is only 10 grand a month, which is not a lot.
and if you really want to go make money, like if that's your aspiration is to make money, it's out there. Go find the thing that you're good at or that you won't be completely miserable doing, and you can grind it out, and you can make as much money as you're willing to do the work for. Like
So good, dude.
that's
So good. It's open your mind is basically the message here. Like what you know of or have been told your whole life is a significant amount of money pales in comparison to what is really a lot of money. And if you don't believe me, let's just take OnlyFans for example, because that's huge right now. There are women out there who just sell pictures of themselves on the internet and make $1 million a month. So if you don't think that you can go find something that isn't soul sucking out there for you to make that kind of money, you need to wake up. It's 2024. The internet is a several $1 trillion a year industry, and there's just money out there floating around for you to dip your grubby little fingers into if that's what you want to do. I prefer to help people along the way. So that's why it's probably going to take me a lot longer than it will some other people. But man, it's out there, dude.
and they're not competing efforts. They don't have to be competing efforts. That's
I think that's something that the ultra wealthy have put out there. I think competition. I'm not saying competition isn't healthy, but I think that we've been sold as a society that it's so competitive out there and you have to compete with everybody and you can't help anybody if you want to get to where you're going. And I'm here to tell you just in the short time I've been building my company, the Strategic Veteran, working on the community, working with a nonprofit. Honestly, the best way is people want to help you. Like you don't need to compete. If you work together, you can get there probably better, I would think, and have more opportunity and leverage that network of solid people and not be just a corporate fucking greedy asshole.
Yeah, I mean, the people that I've met along the way have already been worth it, right? They talk different, they act different, um,
They
and
challenge you. They open your mind to different ways of seeing things that you didn't even know were there. They open doors for you so that I didn't even know there was a fucking door here. Let me walk through this bitch and see what it's got on the other side of it. You know what I mean? And that's genuinely like, it's true. If you put yourself out there, take a little bit of action and take a chance, the world becomes your oyster. And I totally understand that now. Whereas before I never, the world's your oyster. What does that mean? Like, nah, fuck, I'm pity me. Like I'm not capable of this, that, and the other. And it's like, just open your mind a little bit and trust some people, have some conversations and watch what happens.
yeah, that's at some point during my military career, right? Like you embrace the suck so much, but if you're not careful, you'll just seek out the suck that's no longer benefiting you, right? Like you're like, I'm resilient, I'm tough, like I'll suck this up, like I made this
To what
mistake,
end? Right. To what
I'll live
end?
with my actions, right? But to take the leap to do the entrepreneurial thing, it's a different level of suck, like right? It's like nothing's gonna suck like the days in the field, getting fucking rained on, freezing your ass off, like those days are gone,
They're
right?
gone. It's a new battlefield.
Now the suck is the anxiety. You're like, oh, I don't know exactly what I'm doing. Like, just fucking do it, dude. You're gonna learn along the way. If it's so hard to detach yourself from PFCU, but like that private first class U was like learning everything the first time through action. Your sergeant was like, go fucking do this. You're like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And then you went and fucked it up and got yelled at, and then you went back
You
and did
did
it
it again.
again,
Yep.
or 100 times until you got it right. And entrepreneurial pursuits is no different. You're going to do the reps. Like you have to do the reps. Um, and after a while, those will become automatic. Boom. That's done. Now how do I elevate that? I can work on something else now that's free flowing without like my mental attention and shit. So, um, but back to an earlier, I'd like to give a book shout out.
Hell yeah.
Um,
We love books here.
yeah. So Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. If you're having problems being open to receiving money, if you feel gross becoming rich in some way, whatever objection you have to making a lot of money, that book will help you overcome that.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. In your opinion, what does money do for Dylan? How do you view money, and what is it able to do for you?
Well, younger me thought it was a thing to buy shit, right? Um, but really, it's a tool.
Yes, answer I wanted. That's the
Money's a
answer I
tool.
wanted. Yep.
Yeah, it's not only can I create, so the first line of defense, right, is to provide this ultimate level of care and protection to my family. Once I build my wealth to whatever number that I decide that equates, the next thing is going to be focused on directing that money to helping as many other people as I can help in
Fuck
whatever
yes, dude.
in whatever way that I can, right? So it's like if I can help them with their startups, be a partner, a mentor, or an investor in their thing, I want to do that. I want to give more money to some good nonprofits and stuff that are out there. Like those are the things that money's a tool that you could turn the nuts and bolts of those things. Like
Yes, sir. Man, I we're on the same page, brother. Like I was fishing for that answer. That's what I wanted. And man, did you deliver. What has been the biggest challenge for you in building, your wealth, your capital management, your real estate business, and how have you overcome that to stay the course?
all right, got to go back to the military career. Early in your career, as a younger, troop, you're almost a robot. You got to fit inside this mold. Uh, you're working to please everybody. You have multiple different bosses. That's the environment that you live in. Got promoted a few times, NCO, staff NCO, and ultimately to gunny. As a gunny, especially like the last 3 years of my career, so I was a gunny for like 7 years. uh, kind of once my hopes and aspirations of reaching another promotion, once that was out the window, I was free. And I'm just going to be unapologetically myself. And and who I am is the person that will tell people the hard truths. And in the military, it's a coin toss of who you work for, whether that's well received or whether you're not playing the politics and shit. And I did not play the politics. Now the challenge is when you're doing your own business is I still want to be this crass, belligerent person. Take me as I am type of person. And that doesn't necessarily work. Not that I'm going to change who I am, but you have to be more willing to market yourself. You have to outreach to all these different people because you're creating a network. You're creating opportunities for people to be part of your business. So just being more open to that is like, I'm not the person that needs a whole bunch of social to fill my cup. Like I have the people that are core in my life and I get that filled from that. So now I have to grow that because like all the outreach that I do on LinkedIn, all the messaging, all the posts, um, that's my brand and that's my marketing, and that's not natural to me. I don't like to talk about myself. I don't necessarily like to draw attention from the masses. Like if we go out or if I have a barbecue, I'll be the center of attention with my own people. But um, I don't know. I guess in the beginning, like I even felt like that was cringy. I'm like people on social media and post it. It felt cringy.
Well, and what you're talking about is the necessity to build a personal brand and how uncomfortable that is, particularly for those of us that come out of the military, because it's always about the team. It's never about yourself, right? It's always about the men and women to your left and to your right and the mission. You're not promoting yourself. You're not marketing yourself. You're not building that personal brand. And then you get into entrepreneurship, and it's like you could have the best idea in the world, but if nobody knows about it, then it's nothing, right? And so now you have to promote. And how do you do that? You have to talk about yourself. You have to talk about the hard things. You have to be authentic and present in a way that people can understand what it is that you're trying to do, and that doesn't come naturally to us. Whereas I think, particularly for the generation behind you and I, who grew up with cell phones in their freaking hands from the day they were born, it's so much easier for them. They have a following by the time they're 10 years old that's bigger than either you or I's following probably combined right now. And so, whereas I grew up with a corded fucking rotary dial phone in the kitchen that I had to talk to my friends with. You know what I mean? I know you grew up probably the same way, right?
I had a long cord though, so we could at least go to the other room.
Yeah, but it didn't stop anybody from somewhere else in the house picking up the other receiver and listening to your damn conversation, right? And so, that for guys like you and I who are in our late 30s, early 40s, whatever that looks like, it is a huge learning curve, and it is a part of us that we have to overcome. So I love that that's what you're speaking to is because it's just not natural for us to be, I don't know, it seems, I think to me, like egotistical or kind of just like braggadocious, where you're just kind of tooting your own horn to get a following. But it's like, well, how do I help the people I want to help?
Exactly. And I think you hit it early in that spill. Is like I had to reframe it. It's still about the team. This is the method. It's not the it's not
These
the
are the
focus.
rules of the game that we're playing, and you have to play the game. If you want to build anything, you're learning a new game, and this is one of the things that goes along with it.
Well, especially most of the deals that I'm doing. So there's a term, accredited investor. You familiar with that term? All right. So for listeners that aren't familiar, an accredited investor is somebody that makes 200K annual. They can prove that over the last 2 years and likely to do that again in the following years. A couple that makes 300K household a year, same 2 years, likely to do it again, or a net worth of $1 million. So in my current network that I had leaving the military, that was approximately 0 people. So to reach out to the people that can fund my deal, that we can have a mutually beneficial business relationship, I have to add those people to my network, and I have to reach out to them, and I have to find common ground with them. How does a knuckle dragger from Midwest City, Oklahoma, that had an alcohol problem and, like says fuck 47 times in 2 sentences, how do I tackle that?
But you do, and it's not as scary or as hard as you think it is it?
You just got to do the reps. And sometimes it's about volume.
Yeah, 100 no's to get one yes.
I don't have anything automated. Like, I think that's also kind of cringy, but obviously once you scale and grow to a certain point, like it's probably inevitable at this point.
100%. Yeah, man. Because time becomes your most valuable resource at that point, because you're either spending time or money. And, if you don't have money, it is time in the beginning. But then you get to a point where it's like, I can't keep up with this. I have to invest money into somebody taking this over for me.
And I feel like it already is. Like, time is that. But going back to earlier points, it's like right now I'm getting the reps. I have to get the experience. I'm doing the, like, how can I coach or teach or know how to hire somebody down the road to do the thing if I haven't done the thing? Like, I have to know what the thing is, right?
Yeah, man.
So,
yeah. You got to know it, dude. It's no different than, you can't just go into the Marine Corps as an electrician like you were as a private and lead troops. You don't know the job. And the only way you get that is doing the reps over 20 years and learning the job inside and out and leading people in that job at every level. And that's the same as building a business.
Well, thankful for that thankful for that experience because I know how to do it.
Yep.
I've swept the floors. I've plunged the toilet. Like, I've taken the trash out.
Mowed the grass with e-tools. Yep, sure have.
Put the grounding rod in. I've operated the generator. I've filled the generator. And then, years removed from that, I did all the planning for all that type of stuff. So it's like, and managed it, and supervised it.
Yeah, man. Dude, tell everybody how they can connect with you and learn more about your company and what you've got going on, how they can get hooked up with you if this is an avenue that they want to pursue themselves. I imagine you and Tony both will have quite a few people reach out to you because I get asked real estate questions all the time, and it's not something I'm interested in. So I default to you guys. Plenty of referrals are going to come from the Strategic Veteran to you guys.
It's a long one. I should have thought about this early, but like I said, I was making actions instead of doing the analysis process. So my
good website, on you, brother. Good on you.
My website is bridgecrestcapitalmanagement.com. You can sign up for a newsletter and stuff on there. You could set up a Zoom call appointment with me if you'd like. And then probably the easiest way, though, is if you just search Dylan Dail, DYLANDAIL on LinkedIn. Send me a connection request on there. Shoot me a message. And I'd be happy to answer any questions, or whether it's mentorship or to build a relationship or business or whatever it is. I'm happy for all those connections because we're only one person away from the person that we need to get to for the next thing. Like,
I love that, man. And I promise you guys, he doesn't bite. I literally just sent him a connection request with no note. He said nothing, accepted it. I said, hey, man, you want to do a podcast? And he's like, yep, let's do it. Like, that's really how approachable Mr. Dylan is. So I encourage you to reach out. Don't be scared. That's really all networking is. Just reach out to people you think are cool that can help further your mission. Please do that. Last thing, man, what do you hope everybody takes away from our episode here today? What's the one kind of thing that you hope they get from your message?
I mean, I think my life story is don't fucking quit. But other than that is like, I don't care who you are, getting out of the military, you think you have a plan, you think you know what you want to do. You probably don't know what you want to do. You haven't been able to try anything other than, formation and PT. So don't be afraid to pivot. Get out there. If you don't like the thing, if you're not dedicated to the thing, if you're not passionate about the thing that you started doing, look for the fucking pivot. Find the thing and then go all in. Like, you got to go all in.
No half-assing it.
It's not going to get you there.
Nope.
And even if it does, it's going to be slower than it could have been.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's like, if you need the shame or the guilt, like, go look at a picture of your family or whoever those that you provide for or that rely on you and say, hey, would you like me to make fucking X amount of dollars in 10 years or 20 years or 5 years? Like,
hell yeah, man. Dude, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for your time on a Saturday afternoon. I really appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Mr. Dylan Dail. Don't forget to like, rate, review, subscribe. Help me achieve the goal of getting this in front of 1 million veterans by the time I turn 40 on May 9th, 2025. I know it's a lofty goal. If there's one community on the planet, there's 19 million veterans in the United States. I know that we can get there. Please, please, please help me save veteran lives by getting this show in front of them. Also, if you want to give back to the veteran community, I am the recruiting director for QRFup.org. It's a revolutionary app that's going to change, I think, the face of mental health care for veterans and first responders in the United States. Reach out to me. Go to the QRFup.org website, fill out the I want to be a responder form, and help us save more veteran lives and end the suicide epidemic. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. I really appreciate Dylan. I'm super grateful for him being here. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. That's our show, and I'm truly thankful you've joined us at the Strategic Veteran. If our conversation today sparked curiosity, or if you're ready to elevate your game, I'm here to help. Visit thestrategicveteran.com for exclusive show notes and resources, or to book a coaching session directly with me. Take a moment to subscribe to our podcast and share your review. Your support makes all the difference. For more insights and daily strategies, let's connect on LinkedIn and keep the conversation going. Remember, this isn't just a podcast, it's your strategic advantage in action. Until our next rendezvous, stay bold and continue the mission.